Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is ingenuity, our creative expression or creative inspiration, cleverness, and where does it come from? So that should be a fun conversation. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding into your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, and bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, energizing all your cells, all your molecules and electrons, and creating this brilliant beam of light from your heart out into the world. And now let's just gently press our palms together and very softly rub your fingers against your palms to feel the deliciousness of that sensation and the tickling and the tingling of it, and allow that sensation to bring you present right here, right now, into these remarkable bodies, these physical forms that enable us to experience life. So we're going to talk about ingenuity. And good morning, Rosalind. Rosalind says TGIF. Yes, you know what? This week I'm right there with you, Rosalind. It's been a good week, but it's been a long one, and I am also looking forward to the weekend. So anyway, what's ingenuity? So I did my nerd thing and I looked it up, and I just have to find the definition again. But where it came from, where today's conversation came from, is our aptitude or recognition of our aptitude to find really creative solutions to things that sort of might come out of the blue without I'm just looking it up here, sorry, without necessarily thinking something through with logic. You know, like we have this intelligence that is ever present, that is working for us at an other than conscious level all the time, and provides solutions and answers to questions that we've been entertaining, oftentimes in funny and strange ways. So help me remember that, because I have a story to say about how the universe speaks to us. But and maybe that would have been a better title for today's topic. But ingenuity is the quality of being cleverly inventive or resourceful. Inventiveness, cleverness, or skillfulness of conception or design, and ingenious contrivance or device. So cleverness, and what I loved here is skillfulness of conception or design, inventive. So all of that has to do with creativity and kind of with inspiration, I think. And I had this wonderful conversation with one of my clients the other day, who's just on the leading edge of thought, and you know, so inspiring. But one of the things that they said that I just loved was that they put themselves in the mindset of how would the universe speak to them, you know, if if it were to want to convey messages. And so whether it's universe or higher self, whatever it is, how would the universe speak to us? And the observation that they made is through TV, through movies, through email, social media, through things that we have regular exposures to. So most of us would call those things synchronicities, right? That we're watching a movie, and it happens to be like right in line with stuff that's going on in our lives. Or I remember shortly after Maggie passed, I was watching, several different shows, and there was a character named Maggie. I don't think I had ever seen a show with a character named Maggie, but those kinds of synchronicities, allow us to get messages. And I think that that's not unlike the dynamic that happens with our ingenuity, where we get these inspired ideas for how to solve some kind of challenge that is confronting us, how to interact with it in a new way, that may be kind of outside the box, that wouldn't have occurred to us from a space of logic. And so all that's pretty cool, right? Ingenuity. What might be some of the clever ways that you've come up with for solving problems? Did you ever, have this issue that I said solving problems, and this very same person that I was just talking about, as far as how does the universe talk to me, was talking about the problem with solving problems. And this is where ingenuity comes in too. The problem with solving problems is that the problem itself is a box. And if the problem is a box, the way to solve it isn't in that box. And so Einstein, I'm going to ruin this quote, but Einstein said something to the effect of, you can't solve a problem from the level of consciousness in which it emerged. So what ingenuity is stepping outside of that box. What creativity is stepping outside that box to identify a different way of thinking, a different perception of something. Welcome, Alexandra. Yes. So Alexandra says being open-minded gets you outside the box. Exactly. So the box is the mind. If we say we're being open-minded, we're stepping outside of our standard frame of reference. And when we can step outside of the bounds of our standard frame of reference, what happens is we have access to a much greater scope of possibility. And when we have access to, maybe that's what creativity is kind of accessing that beyond the box information and transmission and communication from beyond the box. That would have been a great, I love that, from beyond the box. I like that as a title for something, because good morning, Bernadette. So good to have you here with us. Welcome. We're talking about ingenuity and really inspiration and creative ideas that provide solutions that might have been otherwise unanticipated. And so the good morning, Kimberly. Welcome. Great to have you here with us. we're talking about ingenuity and this notion of where does this come from? Like we come up, I don't know about you, but every now and then, it's not like it necessarily a regular occurrence, but every now and then I come up with an idea for how to address something that I'm just like, wow, where did that come from? That's a really good idea. You know, this is providing an answer to something that was a challenging situation, and bam, you know, like that's brilliant, you know. And I don't necessarily take credit for those moments when that happens, you know, as something that I can attribute to my genius. It's really maybe more I can give myself credit for enough of an openness to tap into something beyond my limited purview. Well, welcome, Nicole. How wonderful to have you here with us. So Nicole says it's known in Buddhist practices to make the connection, this connection physiologically. Oh, this is great. I love this. Is the telomeres that exist within the space of our DNA. When we access this, we access our Akashic record. So I am going to confess to very limited understanding of Akashic records. The understanding that I have is that there's this sort of book of life and we're all written into it. And the Akashic record has the story of our lives, or our purpose, our mission. Is it a comprehensive recording of every moment of our lives? I'm not really clear about that. Maybe I can look that up for us too. So Bernadette says, I'm like that when looking at items. I can think of a plethora of things it can be. Some situations also. Yes, we can get into a state of mind, or maybe a state of mindlessness, perhaps, that gives us access to a broader informational base. So I'm going to see if I can find out. Yeah, so in the dictionary, there's not a definition of Akashic records, but I'm going to look because you guys have me curious now. And I've so often heard it referenced. So here on Wikipedia, Akashic records in the religion of theosophy and the philosophical school called anthroposophy, the Akashic records are a compendium of all universal events, thoughts, words, emotions, and intent ever to have occurred in the past, present, or future in terms of all entities and life forms, not just human. So let's see. I don't understand what you're saying, Bernadette. You said optional detector. I'm not sure what that means, but I'm going to keep reading about the Akashic records for a second. So they are believed by theosophists to be encoded in a non-physical plane of existence known as the mental plane. There are anecdotal accounts, but there is no scientific evidence for the existence of the Akashic records. But so what the Akashic records are meant to be is the recording of everything that ever was or will be. And maybe that's what we are tapping into. If there's that recording, I wonder if it's meant to record thought, because, and I also wonder, because I kind of have this notion that what we're here for is to be generative, that life flowing through us is life expressing itself, life expanding itself, life expanding its experience of itself. And if that's the case, then perhaps the exchange between life and the Akashic records, if they exist, is a two-way flow. that maybe we get information from the Akashic records and we feed information into it. Perhaps maybe they're always changing. In any case, I love this idea of tapping into the field. And I was talking, I don't know if I guess it was last week, about the quest of Rose, which is sort of it's one of a trilogy of transformational books. It's the first one. The second one is either just released or just about to be released. And they're talking about imaginal spaces, and this imaginal space is the space where imagination meets the breath of the cosmos. That's my languaging. When I say the breath of the cosmos, it's the information field that is available to us, where we're in communication with life creating itself. Again, my translation, but it's not imagination as limited by our individuated being. It's tapping into the pulse of the universe to be able to receive the request that's drawing us forward into new experience and new life creation, etc. I don't know if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. Bernadette says, I also think past life experiences exist within every life we live, carrying over the knowledge. I think, so I have this notion about past lives. I don't know that I believe in past lives per se, but I do know that people tap into information from past lives. So I don't know how that relates, like those past lives. I mean, I've heard stories, particularly in India, where someone will be born and have memories of their previous life and actually have gone and met previous family. And, there were carryovers of personality. And I don't know what that is, because part of me believes that all, like physics says, all time already exists. Everything that's ever happened or ever will happen, according, like the Akashic records, it's already all recorded. And so is our past lives really past, or are they other dimensions of experience in the now? It's just a fun way to be musing over that notion. So Nicole says the enlightened understand that they are everything. Indeed, as that's the truth of it. In this understanding, we are all. And in this collective consciousness, we can alter everything around us. It all is manifested originally through the pineal gland. If the pineal gland even exists, right, Nicole? So yes, I agree that we are everything. We are all things. And ultimately we are consciousness, and that's our connection. That is how we are all things and all experience. And maybe the manifestation of it is just a very elaborate illusion and projection of consciousness into individuated forms and presences. So Rosalind says, we might not see information that might have always been present. Exactly, like the fish in water, right? Where the constants around us might be so ever present that we don't even know to recognize them. Rosalind continues, seeing this differently or from a different vantage point provides a new insight. Exactly. And I love that you said from a different vantage point. That's giving us spatial orientation, but it is a matter of kind of twisting if things were on a paper, looking at the paper from a different angle. If we have something 3D, shifting it allows us to see things that might have otherwise been obscured. So continuing with Rosalind's statement here, stripping away opinion or taking away the container and boundaries might allow for new experiences to unfold. I think that it undoubtedly enables new experiences to unfold because we've taken the blinders off. So it's a whole different experience, right? Instead of operating with an expectation, try having no expectations. Exactly. Instead of operating with expectation, what if we operated with curiosity? Because curiosity is the openness of or to unanticipated outcomes and experiences. Bernadette says, interesting question. And Nicole says, in response to Rosalind, this is explained in the allegory of Plato's cave. You're a wealth of resource today, Nicole, so I don't know the allegory of Plato's cave. I'm going to look that up too because I'm just a nerd. So, allegory of Plato's cave. Let's see, I just put that in my phone. Let's see what it is. Okay, Plato's allegory of the cave is a concept. Let's see, what exactly is it? Okay. Let's see, come on. Okay. Allegory of Plato's cave. Okay, is a concept devised by the philosopher to ruminate on the nature of belief versus knowledge. Okay. The allegory states that there exists prisoners chained together in a cave. Behind the prisoners is a fire, and between the fire and the prisoners are people carrying puppets or other objects. This casts a shadow on the other side of the wall. The prisoners watch these shadows, believing them to be real. Thank you for this, Nicole. This is how we live life, right? Plato posits that one prisoner could become free. He finally sees the fire and realizes the shadows are not the reality. This prisoner could escape from the cave and discover there's a whole new world outside that they were previously unaware of. The prisoner would believe the outside world is so much more real than in the cave. He would try to return to free the other prisoners. Upon his return, he's blinded because his eyes are not accustomed to actual sunlight. The chained prisoners would see his blindness and believe they will be harmed if they try to leave the cave. Oh my gosh, that's rather tragic. And so that reminds me of Icarus. You know, the Icarus had wings, wanted to fly into the heavens and had wings of wax and got too close to the sun and the wings melted. And I think he plummeted to his death. I believe, but it's kind of a similar idea that that seeing the truth is dangerous. But what's interesting, I would have ended the allegory a little differently. I would have had the prisoners blinding him, because what happens when people are trying to speak the truth so often is that they're vilified, right? Or they're made into martyrs of some sort, oftentimes, because our culture is to keep seeing the shadows and to fight for the reality of the shadows so often, right? Fight to the death for the reality of the shadows. And and torture those who see the light sometimes. Wow, this conversation has really ventured far afield from ingenuity, but I guess that that story of Plato's cave is kind of talking about ingenuity. Yeah, right. Deep. We got deep pretty quick. We do that here, right? That's kind of the richness and the fun of these mornings with you guys, is that we get to go deep and be thinking about what's real and what's not real, and the nature of living in our consciousness. And I don't know, I love this stuff, frankly. I so appreciate having folks to share these conversations with, because I don't have that opportunity elsewhere in my life. Kimberly says exciting stuff. And Dido, thank you so much for putting the link to other shows. And that's on YouTube. So if you guys go to the YouTube channel, it'd be awesome if you would follow Enlightened World Network, because when you boost the number of followers on YouTube, then it can provide income opportunities, and that would be a really wonderful way to support EWN. So Rosalind says shopping for clothes takes a long time, and I get let down when I don't find anything. I think it was hard because I didn't know what my style of clothing was. I was at a concert one day and started to notice I could shop while at the concert. I love it. So I looked at what women were wearing that I would wear, and helped me focus on gathering articles of clothing to mimic an outfit I saw during the concert. That's, I don't know where that kind of came out of left field, but actually that's ingenious. So good on you. You thought outside the shop, outside the box. That's pretty amazing. And yeah, I have to say, you brought up shopping, and you guys who've been around for a while know that I have a podcast called Sustainability Now. You can find it on wherever you find podcasts, and or you can look for our interviews on our website at sustainabilitynow.global instead of .com. And every Thursday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern time, we show movies. And last night we showed the movie The True Cost. And I really, really, really recommend this movie for you guys to check out. It will rock your world when it comes to clothes and fashion, and maybe inspire some new perspectives and new choices, because it's talking about what's the true cost of our clothing to the environment, to other humans who are making these clothes, and what, our addiction to fashion and to material stuff, particularly in this case, the material stuff of clothes, how it's perpetuating a really, really, really messed up system. So it's talking about fast fashion. So Bernadette says, always making me go, always worth repetitive learning and knowledge of the once unknown. Love these conversations. Me too, Bernadette, I so do. And Kimberly says to Rosalind, good vibes, you are a rock star. Love, 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 styling. So Kimberly says, I shop thrift stores a lot now. Me too. And I actually generally wear kind of a uniform. Most of the mornings that you guys see me, I'm wearing one of my black tunic tops. I have a few of these tops, and I rotate often between the black ones. And, I have this uniform, wearing black tights, my little hat, or, sometimes I have a different hat, and that's it. And thank you for Dido. Thank you so much. Dido posted the link to our podcast. And I also would really, really, really recommend that you look up the movie The True Cost, because it is eye-opening, And Alexander says, "Oh, Mira, you're spot on. I saw a short documentary on the sweatshops in India. It really made me think twice before I pick up anything in the shops." And thank you for that, Alexander. I think it's really important to be looking at, like, this is an example of, like, not seeing something that was always there. We've always grown up being consumers, right? And having, have a wonderful wardrobe and be cute and wear the latest fashion and all that stuff. And we get to rethink that. We get to redefine that, and not, and maybe we get to wear the same thing multiple times. Maybe we get to have a uniform that we're comfortable with. Maybe we stop judging each other for not being the height of fashion, or for wearing the same thing all the time. Where we have been conditioned to believe that our style is what defines us. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Dido. Put the link to the movie The True Cost in the chat. It's a really well done movie, hard to watch. There was one thing in the movie that they talked about, that in Bangladesh, lots and lots of our clothing is made in Bangladesh. And in Bangladesh, there was a building that collapsed and killed 1,000 people that were garment workers. And they had been forced back into the building despite warnings that there were cracks in the building. 1,000 people died. And it's a form of slave labor that is so prevalent in the garment industry. And when we realize the impact of our addiction to having the latest fashion, to having all kinds of cute outfits, to buying stuff cheap, when we can go and find these wonderful deals on clothes, think about those clothes are being made by people that are barely subsisting. And we've gone all over the place this morning, haven't we? In terms of topics. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox here, but I do encourage you to check out that movie. Kimberly says, "I'm over the top with my clothes, love fashion, learning less is more. And I even get confused what I should wear because I have way too much. It's time to clean out the closet." So another thing that was in this film was how much of the pollution in our world is from wasted clothing. When we can buy stuff cheap, we tend to want to throw it away, like we think it's disposable. And one of the concepts that came up in our conversation after the movie last night was the concept of investment clothing. And I love that because it has the word vestment in it, which is clothing, sort of. And when we buy something that we wear over and over, apparently there was a company called Wool and that made a challenge to wear the same dress for 100 days and to accessorize it differently or whatever. And I think when we wean ourselves from these notions of I get my individuality by the variety of clothing I wear, and I like style too, and we get to think about it in a bigger context. But I just to give you some notes that I took from the movie, that fashion is the second most polluting industry in the world, second only to fossil fuels, which is mind-blowing. And We need a values revolution to stop treating people like things. And through the advertising, we have been deeply conditioned, and they made a distinction between the things we use like ongoingly and the things we use up that are disposable. And the fast fashion industry, where we get clothes super cheap, um, and change up all the time, that's getting us to take the things that we use, our clothing, and to treat them like disposables, like things we use up. And I thought that was a brilliant observation. The other thing is that the average person produces 82 pounds of textile waste per year, and most of this ends up in landfill. And so the only solution is a reduction in consumption. That's the solution. The fashion industry is a $3 trillion industry. The other thing to be aware of is, I said I was going to get off my soapbox, but I'm not yet, because I have a couple more facts, just a couple, that, you know, we might be buying cotton clothing because we think that's natural. Well, 80% of the cotton that's produced is GMO cotton. And some of us are aware of GMOs when it comes to food, and we eat organic to be healthy, and we stay away from GMO stuff because of the glyphosate and the toxic chemicals and what it does to our immune system and our gut and all that. But we don't think the skin is the largest organ of our body, and we'll put GMO cotton on it, and we absorb all of that nastiness. So we have, the last one is that we have been conditioned through advertising that is like the water to the fish, because we've always been subject to it. And here's the next shiny thing that we have to have because it's going to make us better people. It's going to make us happier, that we have been taught that we can solve our problems through consuming, through getting the next best thing, to buy something that makes us happy. And as we gain awareness and start challenging those assumptions and start consuming less, that's when we start to make a change. And we get to vote with our dollars. So, you know, I've been a bargain hunter. And so I've loved stores like H&M because I can find these great clothes at really affordable prices. But H&M and stores like that are part of this fast fashion industry, and they're the ones that are going to these other countries and negotiating ridiculously low prices for the things that they're buying and reselling, and that we're then buying. So Kimberly says, wow, guiltily, I don't throw away. I donate. That's still really bad. Yikes. So, you know, I donate too. And this is another thing that I had no awareness of whatsoever, that the clothes that we donate, a fraction of them get sold, for instance, through the thrift stores. And then what happens is that they get bundled into these big bundles, and they get sent over to other countries. Like, I think they gave the example, like Haiti. I don't know if it was Haiti, but we'll pretend it was. And they used to have a thriving industry there making garments. And now they have all these clothes that end up, you know, that they can pick through, but most of it is waste. And so Bernadette says, add chemicals to my body for years makes me thankful I use every day within my household, Norwex products, household cleaning products are another bad thing we add to our bodies. Not only household cleaning products, but how about shampoo and cosmetics, shampoo and creams and all of our cosmetics. We don't even know what's in there that we're poisoning ourselves with all the time. So Alexandra says, you didn't go off course. I suppose we were meant to hear this again. It requires raising our awareness and opening our hearts to receive this message and make the changes that are required. Thank you for what you share. Thank you, Alexandra. Yes, you know, it does require opening our hearts and taking a look at ourselves and our patterns. Change starts here, right? And so as we become, I think awareness is the first step to change, you know, and then recognizing that that has emotional impact, you know, like guilt, right? So when we have that feeling of guilt, we often will modify our behavior to avoid that feeling, right? Which is a good thing if we use it in that way. If we just keep doing the same thing and feel guilty, that's not so great. But if we can shift our behavior in ways that are positive, that's a really powerful and profound thing to do. And also to share that awareness with others, you know, because we don't know what we don't know. You know, we don't know the impact that our actions have, and we do get to vote with our dollars. So when we stop supporting things that are exploitative of our planet, I mean, we didn't even talk about the chemicals that are used in the creation of clothing, in the dyeing process, in the fiber processing, not to mention the chemicals that are used on the fields when the fiber is grown, if it's not synthetic, not to mention that for synthetic fibers, every time we wash our clothes, microplastics get into the water, and from the dryer, they get into the air. So they get into our lungs and into our bodies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, okay, that's the sustainability side of me. You've seen it. And there it is. So I invite you to check out our really awesome interviews on sustainability now. We really do focus on all areas of sustainability, and I invite you to sign up for our mailing list so you get invitations to our movie nights, because they're really dynamic. We share a lot of content, and we have really great conversations. So, and it's a way to meet like-minded people who are really committed to creating a world that works. So I think I get to sign off for today. I went longer than usual, but I had the freedom to do that this morning. So it worked out perfect. And I really appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. And we get to look at how we can use our ingenuity to solve and resolve some of these issues in our lives and in our worlds. Thank you so much, Dido. Dido says, riveting and illuminating conversation. Thank you so much. And I invite all of you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network, EWN One with the Earth, and Enlightened World Living. And Kimberly says, wonderful, glad to learn more about this. See you tomorrow. No weekends, just weekday mornings. So I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page. So I really wish you all a wonderful weekend, and maybe you can do some closet assessment while you have a minute or two here or there. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Lots and lots and lots of love. Take care.